and welcome everyone. David here and Jim from Rushfans, and we're very just stoked, man. We're so excited tonight to have a conversation with these four people here. Patty Pershela, Billy Alexander, Tim Starachi, and Mike Hetzel, collectively known as the band YYNOT. So awesome, guys. Thanks for being here. And or if that's Tim or somebody impersonating Tim.
That's right. There's three of us, and then
Hey,
Elvis over there.
I'm just a regular guy. These are my house clothes. I do have to run out later and take care of some business, so
hey,
you do what
you gotta do.
I just gotta throw my boots on, and I can hit it.
Yeah, we'll carry things when you gotta go and come back.
Hello, everybody.
Anyway, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that most of the people that subscribe to Rushfans already know this band and are fans. But for those that might be hiding under a rock the last few years, YYNOT began as a Rush tribute. But writers got to write, and they've got 3 records of their own. I'm going to show them off here. They're self-titled first record, YYNOT Resonance, the only one that I don't have signed. So when I get you guys to Dallas, I got to take care of that.
We can fix that before that for you.
All right. And then the latest, Light and Shade, and they get my Light and Shade t-shirt. And then there's this really cool white vinyl album called Pieces. I kind of call it a greatest hits record, So anyway, so let's jump in. As if I have my YYNOT history correct, Billy, you were at R40, and I want to ask, was that at the LA Forum, the very last show?
No, it was the second to last at Irvine Meadows. I think they called it Verizon Amphitheater at the time. It's gone now, but right before.
So that is something you got inspired, and what happened from there? Tell us about what happened next.
Well, I wasn't really intending necessarily to go to that show. It was kind of a last minute decision, and my wife and I went, and we thought we'd just try to scalp tickets or see if they just held some back. And we ended up getting good seats from a scalper sort of last second. And while they were doing the show sort of in, as everybody knows, in reverse order, and they were getting to the kind of the meat of the era where I was introduced to them and I was inspired by them as a kid, I just really got very nostalgic, as I'm sure a lot of people did. But and then it just occurred to me, I don't really have anything that's sort of updated in my catalog of stuff that sort of represents that influence on my musical career. So I just kind of hatched the idea of doing sort of a mashup of very Rush-esque instrumental, sort of going through that time period myself with various riffs that sort of paid homage to that. And a buddy of mine in Nashville, a drummer named Tony Mora, I asked him if he was up for playing on it, and I put the thing together and put it out. And a couple people on some, I guess, a few people I knew said there's these Rush groups on Facebook, and I said there is, and he said, yeah, you should post it on there. I think people will dig it, So in the process of doing that, by the way, the song I called YYNOT as sort of a goof. Number one, sort of answering a question before it was even asked, like what the heck, why not? And then of course paying tongue-in-cheek homage to YYZ as an instrumental. And then when I met Tim, well, not in person, but over the internet, I saw him playing Rush songs with this drummer guy, and we became friends. And then I asked him to replace the bass track that I had put down on the tune, and he did. And then fast forward to us just doing these online Rush covers over the internet, and that's kind of where the whole thing stemmed from.
Cool.
Well, basically, we owe it all to a great American hero. Right. Mr. Ticket Scalper guy at Irvine Arena. Great American hero.
Where are you? Contact us. Ticket Scalper guy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Sure.
Those guys.
Yeah. So you guys do this stuff remotely.
Mm-hmm.
What recording remotely and rehearsing remotely?
No
Oh,
rehearsing.
we don't rehearse.
Yeah.
We don't
Okay.
No, there's no rehearsing.
A Zoom rehearsal sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah,
It
I know.
is.
I know.
It
We've
is.
never even tried that. You know,
Yeah.
the technology's just not there for it.
Nope.
So basically, it was like, so I'll pick up where Billy left off. You know, we started like doing these little videos with the 4 boxes, and you know, Billy, like you said, writer's got to write. He just started pounding out these songs. He saw a vehicle, you know, to start, you know, doing some cool stuff, and we were learning as we were going, you know, how to do that type of thing, and then one original after another, more Rush covers, and I'll never forget the day I like came home from work. I was a mechanic at the time, covered in grease, tired, exhausted, and he goes, "Hey, bro, what do you think? You think we could do this live?" You know, and I think you didn't even finish the sentence before I said, "I'm in. Let's go." You know,
We
So-
still hadn't met in person yet because he was
No.
he's living on an opposite coast from me. So
Mm-hmm.
I just thought, well, you know, I mean, we could probably feasibly do it. It's we wouldn't be able to rehearse, you know, but maybe if we just did our homework, we obviously have a chemistry over the internet, so maybe it would translate live. And so we tried it, and the first show was like, I don't know if it was sold out or not, but it was close, if not. And then of course that just showed us that we could actually do this, you know.
And what's super cool is that, as I normally do, I'm like a little butterfly before the show. I got a lot of nervous energy. You know, I don't warm up. I don't, you know, do the normal stuff. I walk around instead, and I say hello to people. You know, that's how I get it off my chest. And it was amazing. I'm in the parking lot, and people are going, "You're the guy," and they're going, I came all the way from Arizona for this. You know, I came from New England. I just couldn't believe it. I'm running into Billy. Dude, there's people who flew here, you know, for our first show ever. This is insane. And what's really super cool about that is everybody had fun. And I have to say, a huge majority of the people that were at that first show still come to the shows, no matter where we're playing.
Oh,
You
wow.
know, it's really neat. It's super cool. Super cool. We have the
That's
best
awesome.
fan base in the world.
Yeah. That is so awesome.
Yeah.
Jim, what do you got?
Yeah. Well, you know, okay, so I was looking on Bandcamp and of course found your albums there. And Patty, I found yours there too. I prefer to get stuff on Bandcamp. So I heard that maybe you guys have another record in the works.
Well, there's nothing really in the works per se. I mean, there's always, you know, there's always ideas, and I'm in the middle of writing and recording a solo record, and throughout my process, sometimes things seem like they're more earmarked for potential for this band. So that's kind of a possibility, but there's no like set agenda for anything like that
Nothing.
yet.
Okay.
Yeah, there's been demand, I would say. And we did re-record a couple of songs off of Light and Shade, with my vocals on them, which we are going to release first to our Patreon subscribers and
Oh,
then
cool.
to the public. And we'll talk about that later because I don't know when it's happening. But it's on the list.
That's awesome.
Cool.
That's awesome.
So, Patty,
yeah.
I have kind of a question, you know, for you then. Well, first of all, a long time ago, about a year ago, I think it was, on Patty Persham on the Mayhaps in a Facebook thread, I commented something about, I got to get you guys to Dallas. And you guys said, well, here's the kind of venues, you know, that we do.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, yeah, man, I'll provide you some because I work in the tribute scene here and whatnot. And then I never did that. So.
So what's your question?
Yeah.
Well, my question is this. This isn't your only gig. You have this Patty Pershela and the Mayhaps thing.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about
Okay. So my band, we're a power trio, which is, you know, obviously one of my all-time favorite configurations of a band. So I sing and I play bass. And then we have a guitarist and a left-handed drummer. He's a southpaw kind of thing. And we Yeah, we do more of like a bluesy riff rock.
Yeah.
And we all recently
It's
moved down to
cool.
Nashville together this summer. So
Oh wow, that's awesome. Well, you're not too far from Dallas then. You can just kind of
we're trying.
That'd
We
be
really
awesome.
are. Yeah, that'd
That
be
would
great.
be awesome.
So yeah, no, I'll come through on my promise on that.
Good.
Yeah,
Hey,
I
we
get
need
around to
Texas.
things. It just takes me a decade or two.
That's
all right.
okay. I
Yeah.
haven't done it either. So, and I would argue it's my job to do that. So,
yeah, that's
Good,
how it
cool.
goes. That's always how it goes.
Cool.
Well,
So,
David, you want one? Or you want me to grab one?
you grab one and then
All right.
we'll play some tennis.
Okay. Play some tennis. All right. So I'm
Racquetball.
gonna go for Mike. Right. So kind of a three-part question, man.
Mhm.
All right. So before, well, I guess not before. I'll ask it this way, right? So, what were you up to before you joined Why Not? Right? Like, have you heard the band before you joined? Really? Like,
I
kinda,
had
how did it all go? How did that all come about, man?
Sure. Well, no, I had never heard of the band before Billy reached out to me, which was, I believe, it was like the end of December of 2019. That was the first time we ever made
Oh, okay.
contact. But yeah, I mean, before that, I mean, I've played music my entire life, and I went to college for music at Musicians Institute in Hollywood, California,
Oh,
and I
nice.
got my degree and all that. And yeah, and after I finished school, I moved back home to Milwaukee. And then I was just kind of there doing full-time studio stuff, production stuff, and session recording and all that. And I was, continuing to make my YouTube channel, and I always did a bunch of
Ah.
Rush covers, and so that's kind of how the guys found me. They just found me like on YouTube or on Facebook or whatever, playing
Nice.
Rush stuff, which is kind of how Billy and Tim got hooked up in the first place.
Yeah.
And yeah, so they just, at the end of 2019, they were looking for a drummer, and Billy reached out, and I was like, yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. And then we recorded a couple of songs right away. Like, we did a couple of covers, and I re-recorded drums on a few of the originals. And then COVID happened, so we had all of these gigs lined up, but we ended up not playing any of them. So we were just doing this remote thing for like a year and a half or 2 years, whatever, through COVID. And then we finally ended up meeting in June of 2021, and we met up for a very, very rare rehearsal, which, because we literally never rehearse. So we met up, we did a weekend of like 2 rehearsals, and we kind of we hung out, we vibed, and it was a lot of fun. And then we had our first show all together, I think, the following August. And then we did like the whole tour and whatever. And then we had this year. But yeah, so that's kind of my story with the band, a little bit, a little piece of it.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. That's really awesome how they found you too. That's really cool. Oh yeah.
So Tim,
Yes, sir.
one of the things I've noticed, your bass tone when you guys do the Rush covers. I mean, I've not heard anybody play bass on Rush covers that captures Geddy's tone and style like you do. I mean, it's just phenomenal.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, and then when we interview some other Rush tribute, I'll say the same thing to the other bass player. But
Wow, man.
Wow.
No, seriously, no, I mean that sincerely. But you also,
you know what? I don't think you could, honestly. But go ahead.
But you also have your own kind of voice and style, and so
Yeah.
how do you pull that off? I mean, to do the Rush covers so well, but you've got a style that's really all your own. I mean, it's powerful. I don't know how you don't break the bass when you play it sometimes.
Well, it kind of came out of necessity, because when I first started playing, I didn't know what a distortion box was or a preamp was or whatever. And I didn't know how to make it sound that way because I was like 10 or 11, So I would just hit it really hard, and that was just my style. Everything I do is kind of wrong. I rest my thumb, my other thumb's over on the top of the neck. My pinky barely gets involved, but I did create my own way to do stuff, so I kind of think of it as like, it's going to sound silly, but I try to imagine the way it's going to sound before I hit it. you know, so I try to
Oh,
put
yeah.
that energy into it. I know they say the tone is all in your hands. It really isn't, but it starts there,
Mhm.
you know, but, you know, you can get close without gear, but, you know, gear helps a lot too. You know, Tech 21, you know, I
Yeah.
use their preamps, you know, they're the best stuff on the planet, you know, and I
That
do
and
work
an
for them.
arsenal of Rickenbackers too.
Oh yeah, there's Ricky's,
I
but
see the
Rockers can be jazz.
I tend to use my jazz basses like exclusively now out of necessity, you know, for flying because again, we have the best fans in the world and they pretty much supply us with gear wherever we play, you know, to the best of their ability. And you know, if somebody comes up with one of these Japanese Gettys, you know, I could have it running like a top fuel dragster in 10 minutes. You know, they're so consistent. You know, they really are. And then I just fly with my little Tech 21 Paradriver, which is you know, one of their older pedals, and a compressor, and that's it. You know, and I can get a consistent sound in every venue. And when I record, I use the rack mount gear, and you know, Billy massages it a lot on the records and stuff. You know, he cleans it up, takes some stuff out, and you know, he's really good at making it fit right where it needs to. You know, but yeah, I'd like to think I have my own style. So
Yeah.
thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You
Definitely.
do. You definitely
Doubt
have
about
your own style. That's it. Yeah. I mean, look at you. You definitely have your own style, man. There you go.
Come on, how do you like that, huh?
Fashion
That's
and bass
awesome,
player.
man. Well, Billy, you've been playing professionally before all of this stuff happened too, and you have a bit of a history, as I understand it, before you decided to get these fine guys and gals together for Why Not. Can you tell us a little bit about your musical background?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's geez, I mean, going back to when I was like 19. I mean, I was playing professionally by the time I was 16. So by the time I was 19, I was already in the studio and playing in bands up and down the East Coast. And then by the time I was, I don't know, what, 22, I had my own band, which was actually a progressive rock band that kind of similar thing. Wrote the stuff and produced and everything, and then started playing with different style bands that have more of a Beatles influence out here in LA, being shopped around to different labels. Then I was on in a band on Curb Records for a time. That we had some radio success out there around the country, and then kind of started writing and producing more in the modern country realm, and doing a lot of work in Nashville and then remotely, and then producing artists and focusing more as a songwriter producer, and then just, you know, the playing on the stuff as well if needed, that kind of thing. So that went on for a number of years, and doing this was just that same accident of that Rush show. I was not doing anything. I hadn't done anything in sort of a progressive or hard rock realm for years. So that just kind of booted that whole past history I had of you know, being a teenager playing a lot of hard rock and roll, and then sort of taking some of those sensibilities as a producer and a songwriter and sort of packaging them in these arrangements, and then with you know, incredible musicians like Tim and Mike and Patty now. So it's really just kind of not by design, any of it. So whatever history I had that you're asking me about has just kind of led me here sort of by accident, you know, in a way.
That's awesome. Like, you know, happy accidents, right? So
Yeah.
you can,
Oh yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
those are always good, and it's great how you, like, you know, and of course I guess, you know, I think we all do, I do as well as a musician. You use your past, you know, to influence what you're doing, you know, in the present and what you want to look at in the future, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
think so.
No, that's great. That's totally great, man.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So this might be a question, one variation, another for all of you, but I'm going to ask Mike first. When you're doing the Rush covers, what's your favorite to play, and what's the most challenging? You have a favorite. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
I
like,
mean, I'd say all of them, but
I mean, probably maybe like Spirit of Radio. That one's really great. I mean, yeah, like Spirit of Radio, Free Will, any of those songs from that, like the Permanent Waves Moving Pictures era, like they're always such a blast for me because that was sort of like my favorite period of Rush. So any of those songs, and it was also my personal favorite time of like Neil's composition with how he would write drum parts. So like, I mean, any of those really, but yeah, probably like Spirit of Radio, just because it is such a dynamic song and it kind of goes through so many different little movements, and then like it does the sort of like the reggae-ish thing, and then it has the really loud rock bits, and I mean, it's just that one's a lot of fun to play. And I know it really well, so I don't have to think about it too much either. I mean, I know most of them pretty well, but that one, like, I know really well. So, I mean, kind of.
remember Neil saying that, he loves playing Tom Sawyer because it was always so hard to play. And when he played it right, he felt so good about himself for playing it right. And I'm thinking, you really,
Oh yeah.
but it's almost had a personality of its own and things like that. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So great. That's cool.
Nice.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. So
Nice.
which one, what song is, I want to say challenging. I'm trying to think of another word. But what song do you really have to concentrate on? How about that? If there's any, maybe there's none.
Individually or as a group? 'Cause-
Either
'cause
way,
Yes.
'cause
we concentrate on all of them.
yeah.
I'll take it from here. The one that's most fun to play for me that we play every show is the Bytor medley.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
that is
yeah,
very
yeah.
cool.
That's my favorite.
I like that one.
It's like fun. It's like you're in a batting cage and you're not trying to get a base hit. You're trying to put it over the wall. It's a lot of fun, and you strike out a lot. Which is the coolest thing. And the hardest ones for me is anything that has a friggin' keyboard in it. All right, because I suck at keyboards.
You
But-
do not suck at keyboards.
Well, I'm trying not. Well, I suck less. I'm working hard at it. But
There you go.
but my new favorite right now is La Via. We just put La Via in the set, and that's
Sweet.
great.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of fun because that was
What a
one of
great
those
tune.
songs where we would try it every now and then, but with no rehearsal,
Mhm.
it just wouldn't be up to the level that we would want to do it. But it
Mhm.
just seems like this group that is assembled right here, these three wonderful people and myself, we just seem to have this really killer chemistry where we could just pretty
Yeah.
much do it. It just, everything
Yeah.
seems easier, even though it's hard. It just seems to
Yeah.
work a lot better. Everything, the whole set just feels so much better to me with, the four that you're looking at right here on the screen.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
That's awesome.
that's all I got.
Yeah, I mean, I've only seen that
That's so
on
great.
obviously YouTube, but just the chemistry, and you look like you're having a great time.
Oh, we are. We
Yeah.
definitely don't look like we're up there
Yeah.
taking math tests.
Yeah,
No.
We're up there having fun because that's what music is. If I got to sit there like this all night and play, I mean, I
Yeah.
could do that in my bedroom. I wouldn't because
Yeah.
that's not fun.
Right.
So
Yeah.
We're
there's
connected
nothing
with
like,
the people.
yeah,
Exactly.
there's nothing like live music, and
We love the people.
segues into my next question, which I'm going to direct it at Patty. Actually, the first time just random YouTubeness, your ukulele cover "Close to the Heart" came up, and that's the first time I ever saw you. And oh, well, that's super cool. That's awesome. And I mean, it was just a lot of fun. And then the next thing I know, you're fronting YYNOT, and Neil was the new guy, right, for 40 years. In Rush, and that's you now in YYNOT. But it seems from what I've seen on YouTube, the crowds have really just welcomed you, received you, a lot of energy. But what is it like for you to interact with the fans on stage? What's your experience?
That was a lot of layers.
Sorry.
No, well, I specifically when we're talking about like the music of Rush, which was what brought all four of us into this band in the first place. Like even
Mhm.
despite the original music, we can never forget that, right? That's the touchstone. And I've been in love with their music for almost 11 years now, which I guess probably doesn't seem like a long time for most folks who've seen them however many times, but So that in and of itself feels like home to me. Like I remember it was January of this year when I did my first show with these guys, practically strangers. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And just as soon as, specifically when Anthem started, I was like, oh, I know what I'm about.
Yeah.
I know what I'm about in this song, So having that and sharing that with people, it just really comes really naturally to me. I rarely have stage fright, but usually when it hits a song that I just really can surrender to, like specifically for me, that will always be Anthem.
Mm-hmm.
It's, I think it comes through. It's tangible.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Sorry to throw all those layers at you. My hemispheres tend to.
Ba-dum.
Ha-ha.
Exactly.
Hey, and not to mention Patty's first show with us, we're like, just, we got to fly. We don't rehearse, it'll be cool. Oh, and then by the way, we have to leave right from the venue and drive 12 hours to Arizona to play in the same day. A matinee.
So 3 shows in 24 hours. And I was like,
Wow.
okay.
And she came back for another round.
They promised me it would never happen again. So
Well, if that didn't deter her, nothing's gonna deter her.
Yeah.
There you go. That's awesome. So I'm guessing that Anthem is probably one of your favorite songs to sing then.
definitely. Yeah.
That's great. That's so great.
I like singing most of them, but that one is just so like, I feel like I'm rallying an army or something.
Oh yeah. And I think you have, because I've watched the YYNOT videos on YouTube, and I've listened to your solo stuff, your Patty and the Mayhem. And you have such a dynamic voice. You can sound clean, you sound powerful, you can have that growly part if you want to. It's so versatile in my opinion. So I think you kind of fit into like anything that Getty's singing. I could just see you sliding into that just very, very well.
Well, thank you. It's weird because he is both too low and too high for me to sing sometimes. I'm like, freak of nature, you genius.
I know, right? It's like, dude, come. How about that middle part, Getty?
Yeah. No, it's
that's great. That's so great.
Nobody talks about him as a vocalist, really, but I mean, that's the thing that I've spent the most time with.
Yeah,
most people are not
don't.
into it.
Yeah, most people are like, most people are all over his bass playing, and it's like, yeah, keyboard, whatever, and they never even mention his singing. But he has some really awesome, tunes. Like as a vocalist, they sound like so good. It's amazing. Yeah. And not just like the high stuff in Cygnus X1 Book 1 either, right? Like other stuff, like a full song that he's just on it. Yeah, that's so great.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, growing up, when I was a kid, I got introduced to Rush when I was 11 years old, when I was handed 2112, so I'd, been with Rush a long time. But with vocalists, it was always people that didn't sound like everybody else. So I loved, obviously, Robert Plant. David Byron of Uriah Heep was always one of my favorites. Just terrific, unique vocalist. But Getty always put in that category too, because just nobody sounded like Getty. He was so distinct.
Nobody.
And like Patty said, people love him or hate him. But I've always loved him. I mean, nobody sounds like he does. He can do the things vocally that he do. And I think he does. And I think because of either his bass playing or because he has a voice that might be an acquired taste for some people. I don't know, just, they've never paid attention to the intricacies of his voice and what he's actually able to do. Yeah. So
he was a force.
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's so great. Cool.
Yeah.
Hey, can I add another song into the hardest song?
Oh yeah, go for it, man.
Chemical Burn. I was stuck on the only Rush thing. Yeah, Chemical Burn. Yeah, our instrumental. It's always a holy shit. Am I gonna make it to the other ledge? A lot of those parts. I'm jumping in between the buildings. A lot of fun.
Yeah. The hard songs are often super fun to play too.
Yeah, like YYZ, we do sleeping now.
Yeah,
but
you do it. Yeah, you do it so
Chemical
much.
Burn is definitely one of my bops backstage. Obviously,
Woo!
I don't do anything on it, but also when I run backstage, sometimes I'm also like taking a little potty break. So like I hope that it doesn't become a Pavlovian thing where I hear the YYNOT instrumentals and I pee myself.
You're like, hold on, gotta go.
Right. Oh no. Chemical burns on the radio. Pull over. Right.
Oh, that's so funny. Oh my gosh.
Ah,
Now it'll be a lot of years
Well-
before that becomes a problem.
Yeah, yeah, it will. Yeah, so Billy, what songs do you really love playing?
Of the Rush stuff specifically.
Yeah, specifically the Rush stuff, but you could add your stuff there too, you know?
Well, if we're talking Rush, since we have recently been doing the La Villa Strangiato, that's been cool. Just trying to get a handle on it without, again, back to the no rehearsal thing. So I think we got about 4 attempts under our belt, and it's starting to feel more just like, a little less sort of on the edge of disaster, So and there's so much going on, just musically. There's textures, there's low points, there's almost bluesy, delicate moments on the guitar. Then there's just wackiness, and then there's the over the top stuff. So it's got so much in it that's just kind of fun to delve into. A lot of textures, a lot of footwork, even for me with the pedals and the volume pedals and all that stuff. So that's challenging as well as fun. So that's kind of top of mind right now. I agree with Tim on the Chemical Burn song on the original stuff. It's challenging. It's always it's never easy for sure. But it's one of, I guess, like the Neil thing, when we nail it and we stick the landing, we definitely look at each other like, whoo, that felt good. When it doesn't go great, we just kind of smirk at each other like, well,
hey, we nailed it when I say that didn't suck.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so that's my answer on that, I guess.
That's awesome. Yeah, and La Villa it's just such an intricate piece of music. It's so amazing. I mean, I would imagine if you're playing it, I've played along to the record of it, but I've never like played it in a band. I imagine just doing that, without a lead sheet or a cheat sheet. It's like, all right, what's coming up next? It's like it, but it's like, all right, wait, which section is next?
Right.
It's so intricate.
I used to go to sleep as a kid with my big puffy Pioneer headphones on,
Oh,
listening
yeah.
to Hemispheres. So the stuff is just
Great
like
album, man.
ingrained for 40 years in me. It's harder to remember our own stuff. Honestly.
Yeah, I understand that. I can
So
definitely
that's the only
understand.
thing missing with your outfit. You need the puffy Pioneer.
I know. You
Headphones.
remember those? You remember those,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Of course.
I may have something around here.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Ones I
Sorry.
had weren't puffy. They were just these little brown Radio Shack.
Yeah.
Radio, yeah.
No, these were
I
like
know.
Pioneer somethings and
You get the big headphones and attach them to your small Walkman.
Yeah.
That's what we did. Then.
Wow, tell me more.
It's great. Well, we had these things
What
that
was it
would
like?
spin
Oh.
and you drop a needle on it.
Yeah. It's weird.
And you could wear the
Yeah.
grooves out. Okay, here's a good one about a
That's
record,
true.
right?
Oh, yeah,
I
go for
remember
it.
buying Hemispheres at Whirling Disc Record Store in Farmingdale on Main Street. Asked my mother for like $10, right? Hoofed it out to Main Street, picked up Hemispheres, brought it home, opened it up, looked at side 2, and it was one groove from the edge all the way to the middle. It was one big song, and I'm looking at it going, what the hell is this? There's 4
Mhm.
songs on this album, and it was incredible.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It was just insane. It was such really, really great memories back then, and I think some of that is lost today in music because I used to love the album. You'd open up the album.
Yes.
You'd look at the pictures in the album. I'd
Yes.
read all the words,
Mhm.
Cacophony.
with
I
you.
learned cacophony reading a Rush song,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and good stuff like that, And,
One of my favorites
Well-
with headphones was Twilight Zone.
oh yeah, you hit a
Lay
whisper.
down and listen to that, and then that high note before Alex goes into the solo would just,
Yep.
be
But
so
that's
amazing.
kind of, like what Billy, brought up when we were making our CDs. He's like, man, I want it to be something that, you hold and open up, and it's got cool art and the words are there, and you can kind of just get away into
booklet
it.
that you
There it
can
is. Yeah.
you know.
So, we're not, we're not making
I like
little
that.
pouches with, Memorex CDs on them. It's really it.
Right.
Yeah. So
Oh, yeah.
we try to bring everything we can to the people.
Yeah.
All the things that we used to love when we discovered music.
Yes, for sure.
Mhm.
I'm completely with you on the album format. Oh yeah.
Okay,
That's such a
raise
great
your
one.
hand if you didn't think Getty had the smallest waist you've ever seen inside Caress of Steel. Right? In that white suit. It was like this
Oh,
big,
yeah.
right?
Yep.
With the Rickenbacker going sideways.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Uh,
Dean, by signals when he's wearing that really thin red tie, like on the Subdivisions video and stuff
Mhm.
like that, it made him look even thinner.
Mhm.
oh yeah. Skinny ties. Remember
I'm
those?
sure he'd appreciate us talking about him that way.
Well, it's funny because on the new Geddy Lee signature Sans amp, the artwork was inspired by that era of Geddy. The art has the little tie and the different haircut. Yeah.
Yeah.
For the MP, we introduced that on the MP40. Yeah, so
That's cool.
we love that Geddy.
Yeah.
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 Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Well, you guys, your original music too is just so orchestrational and compositional. I think I
Yeah.
mentioned a message a little while back to Billy about Wire and Wood being such a musical masterpiece, and that has so many,
It is.
the different parts to that. Just the way it opens up and the acoustic guitar. I'm just a fan. I'm a nerd. I just, and maybe it's because your music and the way you do it harkens back to, everything I grew up with and the way that it's done. But appreciate you guys. I really appreciate your music. I mean, you're terrific people.
Oh yeah.
So,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Cool note
great.
on that song. I have vocal credits on that song.
Oh.
what?
Yeah.
How did I miss that?
Wait,
It's me.
the bass
Vocal
player.
credits on
is-
Wire and Wood?
He calls me up and goes, dude, can you put your phone somewhere and yell, hey, Joey? Right?
Okay.
So I went down in the
that was you.
warehouse of Tech 21, put my phone all the way to the side and started yelling and sent it to him
Mhm.
and made the album.
Oh, that's great.
He's a genius.
That's great. Yeah, that's a cool track. That Wire and Wood, that's a cool track too. That's a
Thanks.
very cool track.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Oh yeah.
So, Jim, you have anything else? I have one
Well,
more. But
I'm gonna ask Mike one.
Hmm.
Okay, so this is a slightly more nerdy drum question.
Perfect. I love
Yeah,
nerdy
there
drum
we go.
questions.
There we
They're
go.
my favorite.
I can't help it. All right, so watching your videos on YouTube, right? You
Mhm.
have a pretty good sized kit,
Mhm.
right? But it is not exactly the same number of drums and stuff that Neil has,
Right.
right? Because it's very, very difficult for anybody to replicate his kit 100%, right? The parts you play on there, though, you replicate his parts like incredibly. Do you find it a challenge to replicate it? And you have a pretty good sized kit, so but do you find a challenge? You're like, oh man, he did this, and I would need a couple extra toms to do the way he did, so I'm going to change things up a tiny bit.
Well, I mean, honestly, there's so few moments where you actually need all of those drums.
That's
And
true.
I mean, literally it's probably with our set list, there's probably 4 or 5 songs where I need every single tom, and it's only
Yeah.
for one moment in the whole song. So as long as I can sort of get my little rototom thing going with the rest of the rack toms, I mean, like, you can pretty much cover that sound. And like, you know, I don't always have like a left side floor tom like Neil would have, or I don't have like the piccolo snare drum like Neil always had. But like, I mean, you know, as long as you think of the song in a melodic sense and you're sort of just playing the song and the idea of whatever the fill is, as long as you can melodically put it onto the drums that you have, which in my case is like I don't know, like an 8 or 9 piece kit or something. Like, I mean, it totally translates and it can totally work. And I mean, and for me, I've messed around with having kind of the Neil setup. And personally, for me, I don't really like it. It just seems like everything is a little too far apart and everything is sort of like, I don't know. I don't flow well on that kit. I mean, I'm sure I could like train myself to do that, but just kind of like my setup feels like home to me and it's much more comfortable. So I can accomplish what the sound I'm going for with that configuration, and it seems to work for me, and you know, that's just how I play, I guess.
That's awesome. Yeah, you're playing on everything is incredible, and I've
thanks, man.
You know, I've listened to it. It's so clean and it's precise, and you play with a great feel. So I'm a drummer as well, so that's of course I gravitate to listening to that. So yeah, no, it's excellent, man.
Thank you.
How many bands do you play in, Jim, around here? You're in 2 or 3, right?
I'm in 3.
I'm interviewing Jim now, everybody.
Any questions, guy? Anybody got questions?
So, well, you know, I guess maybe the last question I have, and you know, you never know what's going to happen from month to month, year to year, but I mean, you guys have 3 records out already. You already said earlier that there's nothing really in the works for a 4th, but anything's possible. Do you see yourselves just playing your own stuff primarily? I mean, your set lists now are a mix and probably half and half at least, if not more Rush. Do you see you guys just being why not down the road?
Well, I think like going back to the beginning of how this, you know, somebody called it happy accidents. Okay, that was you, Jim.
Jim on happy accidents.
So, you know, there's not always this sort of plan or agenda. It's sort of it's worked well for things to just go sort of organically, or just one day you wake up and you kind of get an idea and you say, what do you think if we do this, or what do you think if we do that? People's listening habits are so different now too, with the Spotify thing, and so a lot of, you know, putting a record together is just so much work, and it's just you know, especially having to do it where it's very there's a lot of isolation, I know, for me in particular, because you know, it's different when you get into the studio with your bandmates and you're feeling the energy, and there's you know, that back and forth. This is very isolated, so it's not always it's a what do they call it, you know, it's a labor of love, but you know, so we just have to kind of see, you know, we want to continue on doing what we're doing, grow the fan base, get the live show, you know, better and better shows, more shows. And then along the way, you know, if like an original pops up, we'll get together and work on it, see where it goes. And then we'll kind of assess what the future holds. But getting to your question of, do you know, see us doing like a full why not only original thing? You know, I've always, of course, as an original artist myself, and I'm sure Patty and, you know, these guys would probably agree too. There's nothing like that. You know, you never set out to be, I know I never set out to be in a tribute band or set out to do back to when I started with covers. You know, I've been playing original stuff for the last how many years. So so the dream would be to do that, to be all original, but we'll have to see. You know, we have to see if there's an audience these days where we can do that, or if maybe we do maybe a smaller little tour where it's all original and focused on that. Hard to say, you know. So I mean, I think maybe I'll let these guys speak for themselves, but that's where the way I see it is just like not making any hard and fast plans. We'll just see how it goes, you know. And but that would be great, you know. But we're blessed though that we get to play some of the original material in all of our shows, and people respond so favorably to the stuff. And then after the shows, they want the music to take home with them. That's rare. I don't know. Maybe there are other cover bands out there or tribute bands that have albums out all over the world, but I know we do. And it's very, we feel very fortunate to sort of have our cake and eat it too in that regard, you know? So even if we were to continue doing the way we are right now for a while, it's certainly not a bad thing, you know?
Nothing wrong with planting 2 crops. You know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, before we go, sorry, I just thought of this, right? Before we go, I mean, right? So I've mentioned here while we were chatting that I saw you guys play on YouTube, and I've mentioned that I saw your stuff on Bandcamp. Well, if anybody doesn't know who YYNOT is, if they've been living under a rock for the past how many ever years, right? Can you tell them where they could find your stuff? Or
It's YYNOTband.com, right?
Yes.
there you
Or
go.
Patreon.com/YYNOT if you want to support us every month and do some
Nice.
bonus stuff online with us every month.
Yeah.
And YYNOT at OnlyFans.com coming soon.
Absolutely. Well,
That was a secret.
come on.
Hey, y'all scratch that.
You heard it here first on Rushfans.
Okay, it's out.
Yeah.
It's out.
So now we know why you're wearing, you know, what you're wearing.
Oh, that's
'Cause that's
right.
all I'm
Tim's
wearing.
got that.
Yeah.
There you
Saying.
go. He's all
Yep.
set.
Yeah.
He's set for
Hey,
that one.
I can't help it.
Yeah.
I couldn't resist.
Yeah, no, I was going to
That's
announce
so
that
hilarious.
Tim has the fashion award tonight.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But it comes
I
close.
fucking
Yeah,
quit.
You know?
Oh, come on, Patty.
For any vocalists out there, why not?
Ah.
No,
No.
No.
cannot replace
You
Patty.
Patty's
cannot.
great. No.
Cannot be
You
done.
guys,
Aw, that's so sweet.
yeah,
Not
you
happening,
guys,
girl. Nope.
You guys
Nope, nope,
sound
nope, nope.
so great. Everybody, you guys all, you know, your instrumentation is great. Your ability is absolutely fantastic, and how you mesh on stage. I think you mentioned it earlier, Tim, that you want to have fun. And when I watch your YouTube video, because I have not yet been able to see you live, you know, it looks like you guys are having fun.
Oh, yeah. We're
And
having
that's-
a total freaking blast up there.
There you go.
You know,
That's what it's about.
it's
Yeah.
fun, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
about music.
amazing that, you know, what the coolest part is, we're playing like this hard stuff, you know?
Yeah.
But I still got time to go over and tell potty jokes to Billy, you know, in the middle of the set, you know, and hit Mike's little cymbal all the time. And this one, put your
Yeah.
boots up, you know, it's we're having a blast,
That's
you know,
so great.
and I think that, you know, is part of the draw of what
Yep.
we do, you know,
Yeah.
because we're just having fun, man. And it's one big party with 500, 600, 700 friends.
There
you
you
know?
go. That's awesome.
And-
man.
And we say goodnight to every one of them, you know?
Yeah.
That's so great. Yeah.
That's the real deal. That's the real deal. That's what music's about. And when you're no longer having fun, it doesn't matter whether you're going to do all originals, new albums, covers. If you're not having fun, then it's over at that point,
Yeah.
no matter what
Yeah.
you do. So that's
You got
great.
That works. Yeah.
Yeah, YYNOTband.com. And then also, and all the others that were mentioned by Patty, including OnlyFans. You guys are on Facebook, Instagram, I think Twitter too.
We have a Twitter. We've been
That-
known to twit.
Yeah.
Hey, Luna Puna.
Yeah, so lots of places to follow these guys, and you should
Getty.
do it.
That's Getty Lee. Sorry.
Getty.
Hey.
Yeah.
Okay, so there, I think
Play
we got
date.
your next album cover figured out. You gotta have the dogs in there.
There you go.
And a fire hydrant. I don't know where I got that idea. You know,
2 hydrants.
Yeah,
2 hydrants.
2,
Yes.
Dos.
double.
Us. Right. So,
Awesome.
is there anything else you guys want to say or leave us with or say to the
Yeah.
folks watching?
Thank you. Thank you all for digging what we do.
Yes. And thank you for supporting the original music, which you can find on YYNOTband.com. And can't wait
Bandcamp.
And Bandcamp.
Yes, Bandcamp.
And can't wait to get back at it. First thing January, right? What? 6th?
Yes,
yes.
we're
We'll-
playing that show. Tim.
We'll be at the Wall Street Theater in Norwalk on January 6th. And then
Connecticut.
January 7th, we'll be at the Keswick Theater by Philadelphia, I think it is, right? Now, that's going to be a really cool show. We got some like really super cool announcements about that show, which we can't talk about yet. But what we can say is that we are raising money for the Neil Peart Wing at Cedar Sinai for research in glioblastoma. The money is going directly to them. There's no third party people collecting money.
Nice.
There's none of that crap.
Nice.
You know,
Yeah.
we're raising money for the wing that took care of Neil, you know, and this does have the blessing of his camp. So there may be some
sweet.
really cool stuff occurring at that show. Just saying. So
Sounds like a show everybody should go check out.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
See you guys there.
But you'll hear it.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Awesome.
yeah, and you guys are on YouTube as well.
Oh, yeah.
And so
Subscribe to our
the
channel, please.
subscribe to Rushfans. When you see this video, which if you're heard me say that, you've already seen it. Like it, say some comments, what's your favorite Why Not songs, their originals, say some good stuff. And guys, we just thank you so much for coming out and talking to
Yeah.
us.
Thank you,
for
guys.
coming from wherever
Thank
your
you.
virtual worlds are and doing that. We appreciate you, appreciate your music, and hope to keep hearing a lot of it down the road.
Thank you very
Awesome.
much.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All
Thanks,
right.
everybody.
Bye, everybody.